Hello guys, welcome to Chasing the Murderer Talking News. My name's Debbie. I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel and hitting the subscribe button. And for those of you who'd like to share your comments, I love reading them. Right now we're on Life Beyond the Grave, Part 19, the Lori Vallow Case. So we kind of jump backwards to 2006 to cover a few other people, moving into 2007, and there's a lot going on just in this time period. I mean, we're really early into the timeline of this case, and there's a lot going on with Lori Vallow. And we're trying to learn more about the people, the characters involved with this case, learn who they are, what their part in this case, what they play. So we have a nasty thunderstorm heading this way. You might hear some of that in here. So we know that Charles Vallow has married Lori. He was Catholic, but he converted to the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. And we're about to learn a little bit more information about Charles, his ex-wife, Cheryl. She has quite a bit to say about Lori Vallow. She said she remembers first meeting her at her son's baseball game, thinking that she was a really nice woman. And guys, I know we've gone over this, but I want to start here so I don't get lost. And she says, quote, "We were sitting next to each other and she looked at me and said, 'You probably think I'm an idiot because I'm with your husband,' end quote." Cheryl says, "I found that very funny, but it was the only pleasant moment that the two ever had in all the years of knowing one another." And what she's saying is actually quite true. She goes through hell just being an ex-wife to Charles Vallow, and Charles being attached to Lori. So while Charles is actually getting divorced, he and Cheryl are actually having to share custody of their two boys. In fact, the Vallows, their children would stay, they would spend weekends, summers, and alternate holidays with the Lori Vallow family. So according to Cheryl, she said in a statement in the article that a year after Charles and Lori were married, Cheryl became concerned about Lori's mental state. Quote, "She just seemed off. There were a lot of strange things going on at their home, to the point that the judge ordered cameras to be put in their home to protect the children," end quote. According to Cheryl, nothing suspicious or criminal was ever found on that video footage. But Cheryl did get to witness Lori in court firsthand. This is because the divorce between her and Charles and Lori and Joseph Ryan were intertwined. And so they were combined cases, sometimes in the courtroom together. And during her time in court with Lori, she says that Lori seems to enjoy being in the court and, quote, all the drama, unquote, surrounding it. Cheryl also learns that, this is what she says, quote, "It was quite odd, but she seemed to love it," referring to Lori being in court. "That's when I learned she doesn't do what she's told to do if she doesn't want to. I saw that a lot in court," end quote. Now, I kind of want to mention this. We've heard of Munchausen by proxy. Lori seems to, like, there are suspicions that she might have problems with that concerning her daughter Tylee, but that's never been proven. Lori does seem to display traits of a psychopath, so she lacks emotion, she enjoys the fights and the drama, and she loves lies. So maybe that's what Cheryl means, that she notices that Lori just loves the attention coming from whatever happens. I mean, as long as she's the center of attention, she seems to enjoy it. Cheryl also says that her husband spent thousands of dollars in this custody dispute, and they were determined to fight with everything that they had over the custody of Charles' son. Remember that for what's coming in the future. We also learned that there was a lawsuit. Joseph Ryan wanted to hold his estranged wife in contempt and send her to jail for 18 months for ignoring a custody order. He's not able to see his daughter. So I wanted to make sure I got that in here in case I forget to add that later on. I believe this lawsuit is what leads to the attack on Joseph Ryan on August 5th, 2007, which we covered last series, or the series before that. We also learned that Joseph Ryan has some very harsh accusations against him, and that his stepson Colby Ryan revealed that his stepfather, he went out of his way to make a point. He would spank me and just did weird things like that, little hits on the head. He thought it was funny. And in later interviews, Colby will say that Joseph Ryan was abusing him sexually as well as physically. Lori is still very young, and she's married 4 times. According to her mother, Janice, Lori wears her heart on her sleeve, and she's just trying to help them. And she helps them by marrying them somehow. And I can't help but wonder, how in the world does Lori help them? We know that 3 of the 5 that she would marry are not needing any help at all, financially anyway. So what does Janice mean by this? The family seems to be very accepting of Charles Vallow, Lori's new husband. And according to an interview later on, Janice actually says that Charles Vallow is one of her favorite son-in-laws. And a lot of people are wondering, why does Janice like Charles so much? Well, I want to mention this in case I forget later on. As you know, this story is very difficult to tell. Charles marrying into the family didn't only help his wife out and his new children, his new kids. Charles was paying for their phone bills, car insurance, which is an interesting statement because we know that Kay Woodcock, Charles Vallow's sister, later mentions the fact that they help out family financially. Lori's parents, Janice and Barry Cox, they're dealing with some very serious issues, and it has to do with IRS. So it seems that they do have a few financial issues off and on in their lives. And just to recap, in 2006, Joseph Ryan is experiencing some very traumatic events going on attached to investigations, attached to abuse allegations against Joseph. And guys, months and months of combing through the evidence to see if there's any just smidget of evidence to show that he's been abusive to the children in a sexual way. Nothing. Investigators even surprise him by arriving to his home unannounced. They cut off the top of his mattress. They take off with his computer software. They do this because they don't want to give Joe a heads up so that he can tamper with the evidence. Joe Ryan's attorney later tells us about this stuff. And we all know that when investigators use the polygraph test, this is kind of like a interrogation technique. It's to help them figure out if somebody is lying. A lot of times, people who lie, they're afraid to take the polygraph test. But sometimes they do anyways. And then they'll use the points in which they can tell that people are stressed out on certain questions and kind of interrogate them a little bit more. Well, Joe Ryan takes the polygraph test. He doesn't seem to have any issues. So that's a plus for him as well. So now that Joe Ryan is being investigated, the evidence is actually mounting up to the fact that there's a chance that Lori might be lying. Between Joseph Ryan's attorneys and Lori's, there are motions going back and forth on a constant basis in this time period. And Joe is completely devastated about the attack. I mean, this must be something that really starts to sink in for him, because this very aggressive fighter for his daughter is going to kind of start to kind of pull back, which tells me that most likely that attack scared him quite, deeply. Meanwhile, Chad Daybell is pumping the books out. He's also dabbling a bit in new ideas, such as energy work. Later on in the month of September, documents are being created and submitted to Travis County Juvenile Probation Domestic Relations Office. We learned from the guardian ad litem that this whole entire family is going through tremendous anxiety. There's innuendos. There's also, some people starting to suspect that Lori might be actually coaxing her kids to say such things. And as we get deeper into the documents, there are so many that we can't even cover them all. But if you've been keeping up with this series, you probably are starting to see warning signs way before this case become a media sensation. There are definitely questions about Lori's parenting capabilities, while the media is kind of pushing a different story that she's a good mother. It's not until recently that she's this, monstrous mother. But I want to stress this because, in my opinion, Lori was never a good mother, and you'll hear me say that multiple times. It's in documents right here that these children are under a lot of anxiety and stress. They're living in chaos. They're also experiencing a lot of therapy. And something I want to keep in mind, or you to keep in mind, is that Lori Vallow admits later on that she liked to give JJ his medicine so that he would go to sleep. Because very soon we're about to learn some very shocking new information. There's no doubt in my mind that Mary Fogel was starting to uncover some very disturbing concerns. And remember, during this period of time with this case attached to Tylee Ryan has not seen her father. And Mary says it's been about 2 years since she saw him or had visitation with him. And we can probably start to get our own ideas of who these people are, and our own ideas of who Lori is around this time. And I can say for myself, it's not a very pretty image. Also, we have an idea of what the kids went through between the manipulation, the lies, the chaos, the pressure. It's an incredibly uncomfortable lifestyle for these children. For myself, my opinion is this. It says to me that most likely Lori didn't have a bond with her children. These children were pawns. They were on a string and pulled to bring in whatever she was wanting. And I feel so sorry for the children because we don't hear about much love and family support. We learned that Mary is the new ad litem and that Tom Ware was the previous guardian. And there are a lot of motions, a lot of documents, and there are court dates all through the month of September of 2007. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to post the documents here. You can read through them. We're not going to go through them all. You can pause the video and just go through it. So Charles Vallow is married into the Cox family. And according to family members, they get along with Charles very well, and they laugh over everything. Early in the marriage, Alex Cox seemed to care a lot about Charles, and Charles seemed to care about Alex. Now, we hear different ideas of where Charles worked, and I haven't had a lot of time to put into Charles' career, but he is said to be working for a financial management investment firm. He was a partner of that firm as well. He's making about $20,000 monthly. You got to remember, in 2007, the cost of living was very cheap compared to now. and he's making about $5,000 a week. This is a very lavish lifestyle for the family, especially in these times. Lori seems to enjoy living in this lavish lifestyle. Big houses, huge vacations, and nice cars. Lori's family is also enjoying the benefits of Charles earning so much money. As the end of 2007 approaches, Cheryl Wheeler, Charles Vallow's ex-wife, says she does have concerns at this point about Lori Vallow's mental well-being. And the fight and custody battle over Tylee Ryan escalates. So in the beginning of 2008, a social worker that was asked to do an evaluation in this custody dispute between Lori Vallow and Joseph Ryan said that Lori Vallow, she's in imminent danger of a flight risk, and Miss Vallow has mentioned to me that death would be an option before giving Tylee to her father. In documents, this is something Lori was saying way before 2008. You can read it in some of Joseph Ryan's documents where he said he had some concerns as to what that meant when Lori said that. According to arrest records, it is January of 2008 that the 390th District Court in Travis County says that Alex Cox was indicted. And he was indicted for aggravated assault in Travis County. So he later pleaded guilty. He serves 3 months in jail, so around 90 days, before he is released. And of course, he had some fines to pay. But we hear that Alex Cox's intention was to actually kill Joseph Ryan. It's important to remember this and why he did it. So he says his sister tells him that he was committing some very questionable acts against the two children, both Colby and Tylee. Now, remember, Alex Cox, the whole entire family, when you speak to them later, and they say in interviews that Alex Cox is a very strange individual and that he is socially awkward, while others claim that he's a pleasant person to be around. He's quite funny and he's a lot of fun. You have some that even have mixed emotions, or maybe they lack emotions because they seem to really support Alex, even though they suspect that he's capable of murder. Melanie Gibb is one example of that. Now, there's somebody I want to introduce before we get too much further. Just a quick introduction, and that is, remember Stacy Cox, Lori Vallow's sister, in the very beginning of the series we were talking about? She passes away. And her father is claiming that the family's crazy, right? Well, there's a lot going on between that family as well, but the years have passed since Stacy passed away. And her daughter, Melanie Cope, is now growing up to be a lovely young woman. In fact, she has thoughts about the Cox family. She's wanting to get in touch with them. And just in case, so I don't forget, when she hits high school, while she's in class, she's using the computer, reaching out to people like Adam Cox, Lori's brother, the DJ. She's reaching out to her grandmother, Janice Cox. She seems quite interested into getting back in with her family. Melanie doesn't seem to understand everything that's going on. Of course, she is a young adult that's not been around the Cox family. And I want to remind you that it's important to know that Melanie Cope, if I call her Boudreaux, sorry, she's really going through some very crazy things herself. Or she's been through some crazy things attached to her mother. So there's no doubt in my mind that her mother and the Cox family might have exposed her to the same pressures as Tylee and Colby are facing today in 2008. Melanie's father is doing everything in his power to keep Melanie away from the Cox family. He truly doesn't like this family. He says that they're all crazy, and he believes that this family is bad for his daughter. So just for those of you who might be catching on to the story, this same Melanie, Melanie Cope, will later be known as Melanie Boudreaux because she marries one of the people who were attacked in this case, Brandon Boudreaux. And we'll go over that soon. 2008 is going to be a devastating time for the Daybells. Not only the Daybells, a lot of people within the United States, because we have hit a recession, something that the media has denied since 1999. Well, it becomes impossible to deny the recession any longer because right now, small businesses, a very diverse business, are going down. People are losing their lifelines. They're losing their homes. They're losing everything. And this is about the time that Obama is voted in because people are, well, a lot of it has to do with health insurance, which we're not going to cover. Also, to try to save the American dream, which is the homes that millions of Americans are losing, and the media is placing the blame on them when it's not their fault whatsoever. So Obama is actually elected to try to help these people save their homes, so they're hoping for home modification. But just so that you know, and I don't forget, there's never even one home modification ever approved. So millions of homes are lost. Instead, banks are bailed out, and there's, people who buy homes in the future will have a mortgage insurance to pay. Businesses such as Chad Daybell, his book company, they also just fall under, just deeply, just the end of the company. It's important to remember that 2008 was the year of the recession, and something that will actually trigger some of these visionaries. You'll see. And so, like many people in America, the recession takes a toll on Chad and Tammy's book company. So they had to file for bankruptcy. Lori and Joseph Ryan had just filed bankruptcy a year before that. Chad says the book sales just stalled during this Great Recession, and Chad hit pause on the company, he said. Daybell also described how this decision actually took a toll on Tammy and his marriage. This is also around the same time that Facebook is becoming popular, and Tammy is one of Facebook's fans. Especially, she likes playing the game called Farmville. Tammy becomes a super fan of Frontierville, but Chad doesn't like the fact that Tammy is playing games on Facebook. He wrote in the blog, Tammy began playing Frontierville, a spin-off of the social media game Farmville, and she was doing it for hours on end, and he said he received a vision from her grandmother, who told him to have Tammy, his wife, quit her damn computer game cold turkey. Chad Daybell liked to use Tammy's grandmother in order to send messages to Tammy instead of confronting her face to face. Chad's ability to speak to spirits, and especially family spirits, are growing daily. He's becoming more confident to share his experiences and ideas, his gifts, quite openly with the people around him. Chad Daybell is not happy with Tammy and the fact that she's, kind of just trying to enjoy life instead of just always preparing for the end. His wife Tammy has slacked off of actually searching ancestors at the temple, which is a priority in Chad's eyes. He considers temple work the very top of the list, and this is something that you must do on a daily basis. This is priority. But Tammy she must be exhausted because she's a full-time mother. She works, and she's constantly catering to Chad's demands. Everything that's ever done in their marriage, and for the majority that I can see at this time, everything is for Chad Daybell, the way Chad Daybell wants life to go and the way he wants his family to go. This includes the belief system. But it seems that there comes a point around this time where Chad knows that Tammy is not spiritually connected to him. She's not at this exact place he is. And I believe this is where he starts to kind of stray away from, the future between he and his wife Tammy. He starts talking to women more often online. And I want to mention the fact that, Daybell, which is another voice of warning, this website is up and going around 2005. This Daybell is very, very important to remember, because this is a place that would actually start building websites for Chad and his little group. And this group will be Chad Daybell, Hector Salsa, Little Bear, Thor, Julie Rowe, and a few others. Chad Daybell's visions are starting to become more intense, which are about to go into more in-depth soon. And the fact that Chad Daybell is talking to Tammy's grandmother, and her whole entire family believes everything that he has to say. In fact, there are going to be, in the future, people that are surrounding Chad or supporters of Chad, and later maybe not so supportive of Chad. They will stand against him on this case, but still claim that he has true gifts. Chad's family is actually very supportive of Chad's gifts. Though, my research and Tammy, everything's kind of hush-hush when it comes to his wife. But we know that his children, especially Emma, are very supportive of Chad, his ideas, his beliefs, his gifts. While Chad is gaining so much confidence in his direction in life, he's pushing away people that was in his life his entire life. The people closest to him, this would be his own flesh and blood family, his parents, and his brother. I'll try to share more detail and background on them shortly. Also, sometime in this time period, Joseph Ryan is very concerned, or starting to become very concerned, about his daughter Tylee and her health. He raises concerns about his estranged wife, Lori, and her parenting skills. At first, in this divorce process, Joseph Ryan had no interest in taking Tylee away from Lori at all. But at this point, he's saying that he's starting to have very big concerns as to whether he ought to leave Tylee with her mother. He's thinking it might not be a good idea for Tylee to remain with Lori at all. According to Joseph Ryan's attorney, way later, after Joseph passes away, he shares a story that Joseph Ryan was actually making very good money at the very beginning of 2006 and 7. And that attorney fees that he had to pay in order to fight for his daughter weren't too bad. But that changes. And these things change when Lori decides she's going to move to Arizona. So around this time, Lori's thinking about moving away from Texas, away from Joseph Ryan, starting a new life. And let me tell you guys, having to hop in between so many people and so many belief systems to tell the story, it's very difficult. One thing's for certain, I have learned that Joseph Ryan enjoyed living in Texas. And so this is something that scares him tremendously. He doesn't want Tylee leaving the state. But Lori is determined to have the upper hand at any means possible, is what I believe. Okay, so we're going to end this series right here. So the beginning of 2008. Please look at these faces right here. These girls continue to be missing. Please share their story. Share their videos. I have individual videos for these girls. And those of you that belong to crime groups, share the videos. I really appreciate it. I want to say thank you so much, guys, for supporting the channel. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button, the like button, hit the notification bell. I want to do a few shout outs soon. I've just been so busy lately, guys, and I haven't had time to put into these videos the way that I usually do. I want to ask you guys to take a moment to comment below on what you believe about Lori Vallow and the custody battle over. Do you believe that Lori Vallow is a good parent? Thank you guys. Love you. See you soon.